Hello and welcome again to the Abington Veterans Muster. I am Marine Corps veteran, Abington resident, and member of the Veterans Advisory Council. My name is Travis Partington. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Last month debuted our first episode and it was received very well. We want to thank the people in Abington who watched the show and gave feedback, but also we went nationwide. So if you were outside of Massachusetts, outside the South Shore, and a non-resident who watched this show, we appreciate you too. We've got a great show ahead for you. We're going to teach you some things and then talk to, I would say he is a local celebrity here in the town of Abington. So we're going to get started with passing the word. Passing the word. Again, that is where we pass information to you, just like we do in the military. I got asked a whole lot about what is a VSO. Adam Gunn is a VSO, and then there are VSOs outside of what Adam does. And what's all that mean? And it's confusing, and there's all these acronyms and words and capitals. Don't worry, I got you. Adam Gunn is the Abington Veterans Services Officer as part of the Massachusetts directive for every town to have a Veterans Services Officer. That's been established, we know that. But when I talk about a VSO or a VSO type organization, what do I mean? A Veterans Services Organization or VSO is an organization that has been recognized by the Department of Defense and the Veterans Administration as being certified, accredited, and recognized by the Congress of our country to provide services or a means of support for veterans. It's, I'll have the link into, right here below, but you can go to the DoD statement on that, and that's what they do. And there's not that many of them, which is why there are a lot of nonprofits in the veteran space. But what do they actually do, Travis? How do they actually serve? What's actually going on here? No problem. These organizations, again, have specific directives to serve different populations of veterans or veterans as a whole. They meet certain criteria to service veterans, and the veterans they serve meet certain criteria to receive these services. Let's talk about the most common one, the VFW. The VFW stands for Veterans of Foreign Wars. And for example, you have to have served overseas in a foreign conflict or overseas in general for a certain amount of time to be considered eligible to be part of the VFW, to be a veteran of a foreign war. Lots of people serve the military and never serve overseas or never serve in a wartime conflict, so they will not qualify. There's another org called the American Legion that serves them. So you have right there's just two big distinctions. Serve in a military conflict overseas or served in general. There's another one that's very well known that's called the Disabled American Veterans Service Org. And what that organization does is it serves veterans that have been injured during their time of service. So if you're injured and you get a rating from the Veterans Administration, you can become a member and get services from that organization. So why is this important and why are we talking about it now? Because more and more, these organizations need people to understand where they are and use these services, but also these organizations need our help to continue on with their mission. I was one of those Marines that got out and I really didn't pursue the American Legion. I really didn't pursue the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, or the Marine Corps League until many years after I'd gotten out. I thought I was too busy, didn't have the time, and I don't know why, but I just didn't really join. And these orgs need veterans like myself and yourself to join them so they can continue to serve. And why is that important? Well, it's because groups like the American Legion and the VFW get a seat in front of Congress. They meet with the president every year. And by having these conversations with our elected leaders, they know what's going on with veterans in our country. A lot of the PACT Act was started by the VFW and American Legion and the Disabled American Veterans. And so these orgs are important for what we're trying to do. So they need your help, they need your support. Whether you're a veteran or not, there are ways you can volunteer and support the mission of these organizations. Now in Abington, we have the VFW and the American Legion. We also have the U.S. Vietnam Veterans Era Staff Sergeant Richard Fitz chapter. These are the three main ones in Abington. But they're all in the same place where these older veterans are kind of aging out and the newer veterans aren't exactly linking up, just like myself. And so you have an opportunity now to engage with these organizations. And we're going to go into each one and what they do here in Abington in later shows. But today is just to go over the distinction between a Veteran Services group, a Veteran Services organization, and a nonprofit. Nonprofits are not recognized by Congress or the Department of Defense or necessarily the Veterans Administration. So they don't have the same clout as one of these VSO organizations. They need a good membership group to keep our numbers and our voices heard for those that make decisions about allocation of services for veterans, veterans benefits. The PACT Act is a perfect example. The Blue Water Navy PACT Act was an example of that, and other things to make sure veterans are taken care of now and into the future. So again, I know there are tons of acronyms and word salad and VSO and ATF and AO and all that stuff that it goes into the veterans experience, but don't worry, you're in good hands. We're going to go through this show by show and kind of teach you something and give you something to do. And what you need to do is understand that your American Legion, your VFW post here in your community is there for you. You might have a family member that served that needs some help, reach out to them. They might need some volunteer work around their post. They welcome your help and support. Speaking of our local post, the Lewis V. Dorsey Post 112 is open daily from 2 to 7 p.m. and they have a weekly meat raffle. And this April 5th, 2024 at 6:45 a.m., they're taking their annual Foxwoods trip down to Foxwoods. So for $25, you can go to the post, pay your money, and they'll take you in a bus down to Foxwoods. You can have some fun, some food, and come back. So $25, you get fed, you get to have some good time, and meet the other veterans there at the American Legion post. And we appreciate what they're doing there. And then the U.S. Veterans Vietnam Era Staff Sergeant Richard A. Fitz chapter, Post 2, is having their annual Remembrance Celebration Ceremony that will be held at the All Wars Memorial on April 28th at 2 p.m., 1400. Old Colony Hospice is providing coffee and donuts for that event. That's a very special event. I've been to it before, and when you understand that these Vietnam era veterans are remembering the brothers and sisters they lost, it really brings it all home to you about the sacrifices they went through. You might have been wondering what these organizations are, what they do, how they work, and hopefully you got an idea of how you can help, how you can be there for us, and how we can be there for you and your family if they served our country. We're going to bring on our guest next, and you're in for a treat. So, drum roll, please. I'm so excited. We've been telling you in the first episode, episode 0, with Caitlin and Yaz at Yaz's Table, that we're going to have really interesting people who are in the town of Abington or really support veterans in a very unique and meaningful way on the show. So Adam got busy. Adam got to work and brought, in my view, a prince, a king of Abington. And he's done something amazing. Like we talked about last time, like how do you bring veterans together? How do you do it? Well, you do it through breakfast. And my next guest, Freddie Villa of Martin's in Abington, has done just that. Mr. Villa, Fred, welcome to the Abington Veterans Muster.
I'm excited to be here. You know, we've had a great time up to date, you know, and we're doing even better now. You know,
even better now, right? Because it's all new. Like you said, it's all new. And we know more than we did before.
And it's great for the group. I call it a class reunion for everybody.
Well, that's something. Like, so you had this idea to start doing breakfast for veterans.
Adam came to me.
Okay.
Long story short, Adam came to me, and the veterans was having a breakfast at the senior center.
Okay.
And it was great, and of course I do a lot of catering and all. So he approached me to see if I'd cater the breakfasts at the senior center. But this was right after COVID.
Yeah.
And how about if we bring them to Martin's? You know, I mean, Adam, how many people do you expect? How many do you think, how many might show up? And Adam's going, the average is about 14, 16, well, you know, it might be 20 and all that. So
okay.
Piece of cake, bring them in. So I think the first month, every first Wednesday of the month, we came in, I invited several of my customers. Okay, so I think the first month it might have been 24, 26, but since then I've been in town 79 years. I haven't been, okay? We've owned the business for 79 years. We've had a couple other businesses around, but we have a lot of close friends.
Okay.
We have a close veterans who are very supportive of us for the 79 years. So I started inviting my local veterans.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, they get up to 40, we're up to 50. We're averaging 80 to 90 veterans a month. First Wednesday of every month, I invite people when I see them. Everybody is welcome, and they have a blast.
So
okay?
Before we get into all this good stuff, riddle me this. How does the restaurant have the name Martin's?
Martin's was created in 1922.
1922, so over 100 years.
Over 100 years ago by, his last name was Katapsky. He was an Abington resident. I forget the title, I get the deeds, I forget all the documentation. He opened a bakery in 1922. He ran it to 1945, where my dad came in just after the war, and he bought it off of Martin. But Martin was very prominent, we kept the name. Instead of changing it to Villa's Restaurant or whatever, Martin's stayed Martin's. Until this day, that's what it is.
So look, I have gone to your restaurant as a veteran myself during, you know, to get the monthly breakfast, and there's veterans there at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning.
I open up at 4, okay? And it's a funny little story, but my first veteran is at the door at 4 o'clock in the morning. My second veteran, he's in the building at 20 past 4. I open up, I prep for the place. I retired 7 years ago. I do work.
Wait a minute. You retired 7 years ago?
I retired 7 years ago.
Well, it doesn't look like, Fred, when I come there that you're retired.
I'm there every day.
Okay.
But I mean, I kid everybody. It's where I grew up, and I tell everybody it's retired is okay, but you know where all my friends are? They're at Martin's.
Okay.
So I enjoy it. I open up. I got a couple of good friends. We come in, we solve a lot of town politics at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get people that are, and they're regulars. They've been coming to my place well over, some of them 40, 50 years. I've been waiting on, I waited on the grandfather. I waited on the father. I waited on the son. I even have grandchildren now coming in. So I'm doing 4 generations of family business in Abington. It's neat, and like I tell everybody, you've been there on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's, to me, energetic. I mean, it's, everybody's having a good time.
Everybody does have a good time. They come in there.
It's a blast.
I mean, you guys are rocking it, and when I say rocking it, it's just flowing, food's coming out, people are cracking jokes, and they're all, it's like you said, they're getting together for a reunion. They all see each other.
And even when I started, I have a bunch of good friends that questioned why, how could I do something like this?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, being in business for 79 years, okay? there's a little bit of a payback. And of course, are you going to have a special menu by means of, you know, you're going to feed X amount of people, whatever it is. So you're going to have a special menu. Now, being the veterans, I joked. I said, I'll let them order off the menu. So in other words, you can come in, whether it's an omelet, whether it's, we call it a biggie, or we got a J special, we got a Fred special. You could come in and have that. I'll make it for you. And I'll say 75, 80, but we always got one or two wise guys. Can I have a special? Can I have a side of bacon and an order English? And it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Right.
You can, but you better eat it all. You know what I mean? You're not bagging it, you're not taking it out, and you're more welcome for it. And there's a lot of guys there that look forward, they appreciate it, so it's, and they do come back to me. You know what I mean? At the end of the breakfast, they get up and they'll thank you. They're very positive about the whole thing. You know what I mean? They appreciate it.
Well, the thing that gets me is there's a lot of organizations, a lot of people that will spend a lot of money trying to answer the question, how do you bring veterans together? How do you get veterans in one place? Mm-hmm. What's it going to take? And it's like, wait a minute. I come in there, I see what you're doing, and it's like, wait a minute. You have veterans that, you know, cover different ranges, different mm-hmm. areas of service, different branches all together, having a good time, listening to Adam. It really is simple as breakfast, mm-hmm. good coffee, and great conversation.
And it's an update on what the possibilities that you're entitled to. Yeah. I have a lot of guys that come in have no knowledge of what they're entitled to. Adam comes in, he brings in a guest speaker, very educational, a lot of pamphlets are given out, a lot of information is given, you know what I mean? A lot of guys are walking away with a better sense of where they should be, you know what I mean? And they appreciate it, you know? And the only problem in my place, it's too small, but I'm not getting bigger. Sorry, you know what I mean?
Well, you feed us in there in and out pretty good. We're used to it.
I have two sides where I seat 40 on the counter side, I call it, and I seat 40 on the dining room, where the accumulation of the veterans are on the dining room side.
Yeah.
But the overflow does go to the counter side. And of course, big question was, Adam had originally turned around and said, look, we have the breakfast from 9, the meeting is at 10. So I mean, we open up at 9 and you close the breakfast at 11. I allow it to go on from 4 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, you know what I mean? And then on top of it, not to be cocky and all, but if you should come in, being the veteran, and you bring your spouse, we entitle the spouse to have a free breakfast too.
Oh, wow.
And it's huge, you know what I mean? Because to be honest with you, people ask how 80, I've done 105, I've done 110 breakfasts.
So how many meals have you done then?
I have a little note here that I had them check. 1,783 breakfasts we've been giving out. Next month will be
almost 2,000 breakfasts?
Breakfasts, and they enjoy them.
Is it breakfast or breakfast? It's a lot.
It's a lot of food.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like I said, I carry an extra waitress, I carry an extra cook. I mean, we all work together, and it's pretty quick. I mean, when Adam comes in, he sets up very, very professional, you know what I mean?
Right.
People listen to him. People have questions. And it's awesome, really. I call it a class reunion. I get the Vietnam vets sitting at the left side. I got these vets sitting on the right side. And here's the funny thing was, even because Adam brought it up, that I have veterans coming from Duxbury. I have veterans coming from Norwell. I have veterans coming from Weymouth, Randolph. I have the AM vets. I got a couple of good guys that come in, they help out too. Donations are great, you know what I mean? I have
people support what you're doing?
I have several, like I said, I had to bring a cheat sheet. So
all right.
I mean, not to say that.
No problem.
That, I mean, let me see, the Abington American Legion, yep. Big sponsors of it. They donate a check twice, 3 times a year. I have the Vietnam vets out of Whitman donate a check. Allison Sullivan. I have a couple of companies. Buds just opened up in Abington. They came in and sponsored. I have the Weymouth Legion. I have, just to check, the Hug Foundation, you know, is a big sponsor of it too. And the Randolph Ambets. I mean, these guys all donate, kick in. They appreciate the fact, and they're willing to donate to keep it going. You know what I mean? It's positive, put it that way. And then I do have a whole bunch of local people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They come in, and we're not looking, and I'm not looking for money. You know what I mean? It's an event, and people will come in and throw a couple dollars. They'll feed 4 or 5 veterans and all that. Well appreciated, but we're doing very well. All these veterans, these 80 veterans, these 110 veterans, they come back during the month. And what they contribute back to my business, I think it pays for itself.
No kidding,
you know?
no kidding. So let's just talk about Abington here for a second. You've been doing this business for so long. Part of the community, like everybody knows you go to Martin's when you come to Abington. How has Abington changed in the last 80 years since you've been doing this?
It's a neat little place. Like I said, I stay out of politics. I have a friendly little place. I have great politicians that come in. In fact, I have a little feature where, I'm going to say 70 years ago, John F. Kennedy came in to Martin's, and he was running for a senator. I don't think he was running for president at the time. I was 3 years old. And my dad took a picture of him in the corner of Martin's under a pot.
Right.
And if you come in, I have the picture available. Teddy Kennedy came in 10 years later, but since then, I have people in town that if somebody, Allison Sullivan comes in, she's under the pot. I have senators, I have state reps, and if they come to Abington, I mean, it's a joke or whatever, you gotta go to Martin's and you gotta get under the pot. And it's one of those local people. I have retired Bruins players that happen to be passing through Abington, and they're standing in the same spot that John Kennedy stood 70 years ago, under the pot, shaking hands with me now. Previously it was Dad, but now it's me, and now my son is getting involved. But we have 30, 40 pictures of prominent, nice people, local Abingtonians, which have meant something. Selectmen, they're under the pot, and they're not smoking the pot. I keep saying, all right, they're under the pot, and it is humorous. Someone will come in the door, and I'll introduce you to it. I'll take you over to it. You know what I mean? I explain it all. But if you look at all the pictures, they're standing in that one spot.
I've seen Adam's picture, and he's
under the pot.
Yeah,
we got it's neat. I have to keep that corner clean at all time, just for a special occasion. So one of the guests you had in when Adam was doing his monthly was Andy Biggio, who wrote The Rifle, and we're giving away the Rifle book next month. You'll watch the show and comment on the Abington Veterans Facebook page, Martin's, to be in the entry for the April show. So you got to keep watching, and we'll have more on that on social media. But you had a great story you told me about when Marine Corps veteran Andy Biggio came in to talk about his book, The Rifle, and the M1 Garand that he had the veterans sign. And I was kind of curious if you'd tell that again to us. Well, the funny thing was that we heard he was coming in. We expected him, awesome. We brought him a box of books, and he handed out some books and all this. And now he'd been in the building, and speaker on and all this stuff, and next thing I know, 3 Abington police officers, okay? Picture this, now 1, 2, 3 walking in the front door, and they came around the counter side. Now all the activity is in the dining room side, and the speaker is up at the front of the room, he's speaking and all this, and 3 Abington police officers come in and ask if they could go around the back room, because a big circle, come around the back room, and they stood in the far corner of the counter side. You know what I mean? I was sitting going, this has never happened before, okay? And of course my question was it because he brought a long gun in the Martins? So my first thought is, what if a customer comes in and sees him displaying a gun in Martin's. Well, I got 3 Abington police officers. And of course, don't get me wrong, the sergeant came in afterwards, so now I got 4 Abington police officers.
You have your son and grandson working with you, and I've seen them.
3 generations.
3 generations.
So and we're to it for 4 generations, like you say, but there are 3 of us there. And Saturdays, he just turned 16, so
wow.
so he's involved now. He might replace me. Like I said, I retired 7 years ago, but I get up every morning, go to work. I enjoy it. I'll be there. Put it that way.
Well, I look at it like this. Again, like my first point was, you have so many times where people spend a lot of money, time, and effort, trying to figure out a way to bring veterans together. And I come to, I've been to your restaurant. Mm-hmm. I like the meat lovers omelet, folks. The meat lovers omelet with rye toast. Perfect.
Home fries, rye toast. It's a big seller.
Yep, it's perfect. It's perfect. And so, I'm sitting there, and my thought is, Fred, what if you weren't doing breakfast? How many veterans have been helped by being able to come together, mm-hmm. hear Adam or somebody, come in and talk about, like the VA came in and talked about what they're doing, mm-hmm. and people can sign up right then and there.
Right.
If you weren't doing it, these people might miss out on things they might need. Mm-hmm. And so this is the kind of thing we want to talk about for, the Abington Veterans Muster. People can help out however they can, right?
Mm-hmm. And of course, a big question and all, even Adam turned around when he promoted this, or when we sat down and talked about it. We were talking 14, maybe 20 people. Adam took account the last meeting we had Wednesday, and of course I think he got jolted on it there, that how many Abington veterans are in this building right now? And 14, 16 of them showed up. But here I had 100 and something, and of course they're from everywhere. They're coming in and they're asking questions. I'll repeat, the Randolph Randolph vets, very positive about the whole thing. I'm not saying they come in their colors, but they come in there, and now they think about it, they all come in their colors. They all come in their hats. They're veterans there, where they've been, what they've done. Now they even get it. We have a gentleman, 103 years old, okay? He's been coming into Martin's, Skinny Pastuzik.
I've met him, yes, Skinny, the Marine vet, yeah.
Skinny Pastuzik, he's 103. His birthday, he turned 103 on the last Wednesday breakfast, but he's 103. He couldn't make it. I almost wanted to feature him by means of get Adam, if we had to get the fire department to bring him down, put him into place, and we have a corner that for years, we called it the old crusty corner, where I've had selectmen, they meet every Thursday, they still do now. But we have pictures of Skinny, we dedicated it to Skinny's Corner. We have people that have made American flags out of wood, decorative, and we promoted it to Skinny's Corner. If you come in, there's a big welcome sign. We have pictures of Skinny on his 103rd birthday. We have pictures of a 102nd birthday. We have pictures of a 101st birthday. And his brother comes in now. His brother just turned 100 too. So I mean, they've been coming
Walter,
in for
right?
years. Pardon?
His name is Walter, right?
Walter.
Yeah,
Abington, he was my math teacher 50
right,
years
teacher,
ago.
yeah.
50 years ago. Then he was a football coach, well known.
Yeah.
Very nice guy, you know. But we got the Skinny's Corner, and I could go on to, I'll tell you another little funny story where I was born, maybe 64, 65, Richard Phelps. Now, I'm probably a 14, 13, 15-year-old kid walking down the street, but in that dining room used to be a barbershop. David's Barbershop, Nisby's Barbershop was there. I was walking by, and I looked in, and there was a green beret sitting in a barber chair getting a haircut. It was Richard Fitz, you know what I mean? And
Richard Fitz Sr.
Senior.
Oh, wow.
And he was in, and he had his uniform on, and he had his hat. And of course, I walked in. I've never, to me, it was wow. You know what I mean? But there he was getting a haircut at Martin's Bakery, and I don't know, I think you mentioned something, but it was early. It had to be 65, 64, you know what I mean? And like I say, other veterans, we just had Danny Vasilian.
Right.
He was 4 or 5 years ago or something, in Afghanistan.
Right, right.
His father, his grandfather, his grandmother, his father, his sister worked for us. You know, big family in Abington. They all come in Martins. You know what I mean? His dad was a Boston police officer. You know, so well known. Put it that way. Mm-hmm.
I just, love getting to talk to people like yourself who, maybe you didn't serve in the military, but you still took, what you had and made it available to veterans. And by opening your place up and giving people like Adam, like the VA, like Home Base, a place to come and share with us, we get the benefit of not only a great meal with family-friendly service, but also, hey, when I came in, hey, you need to go to the VA and register for this because you're that. I'm like, get out. I checked it out, and sure enough, this whole program I was eligible for that I had no idea about.
And an awful lot of guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't understand. So, I mean, they'll bring their wives in and they're taking notes, you know what I mean?
That's smart, right?
Oh, no. I mean, it's one of these things that take advantage of the situation big time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and like I said, I get a kick out of it, you know what I mean? And of course, I told Adam, I make a little story again that I even have somebody saying nice things about me now. You know what I mean? To me, it's a little joke, but being in town, I've lived in Abington for my 73 years that I've been here. You know what I mean? And I live right out back. So it's one of those things that I can joke with everybody. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of things go on. I've seen, like I said, I'm looking around, the flags are well donated. The 1,783 breakfasts. I don't. That's a lot. You know what I mean? No, and like I say, we're averaging. It could be up to 100, then it goes down to maybe 80, depending upon the time of the year or whatever it is. Yeah. But it is, and invite people if you know anybody. If you pass the word around, if we can fit them in, like I said, and the meeting is from 10 to 11?
10 to 11, yes.
The actual meeting where Adam gets up and speaks is 10 to 11. And even now that I think, this is 2 years we've been doing it.
Well, Freddie, I've come to Martin's several times and had a great time. Like I said, the meat lovers omelet with the rye toast and coffee and home fries gets it done for me every time. And this is why we wanted to have Freddie on for the Abington Veterans Muster. You can understand how what he does helps not only veterans, but also the entire town. So Freddie, I want to thank you for coming on and talking with me. I'm going to have you stay on. I'm going to do the safety brief.
Okay.
Where we close out the show and tell people what to do to be safe. But you're gonna help me close this out, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me. So the safety brief, as we discussed last week, it's where we go out into the weekend, to the world, and we be safe. But that's tongue in cheek. We're going to do it a little bit differently now. Again, the book, Andy Biggio's book, The Rifle, which was a story for Freddie, is going to be given away in April. Comment Martins in the Abington Veterans Services Facebook page, show post for this to be entered, and we'll have plenty to go on that. So we have the Rifle Book giveaway. You can watch us on YouTube. We are on every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, Xfinity Channel 6 and Verizon Channel 28. Last thing, there is an email address. You can email the show directly, and we're going to start doing a mail call with emails we get in. And that email address, and I'll have it here below, is veteransmustertv@abingtonma.gov. So you can email the show, and if you have a question or comment or feedback, We'll make sure you get profiled. I want to thank you're a co-host now, Freddie.
Co-host, oh my God.
Look at this. We go from guest and now you're a co-host. All kinds of new stuff today on the Abington Veterans Muster. I want to thank you again for coming through for us. And we'll be back for number 3 in April. Thank you again, and fall out.